Hello, welcome to another edition of the Pace Report. I'm Brian, Pace reporting live here at the Jazz Standard here in New York City. Making a rare appearance here at the Jazz Standard is Toronto-born and bred soul and jazz vocalist Kellylee Evans. In fact, she's performing selections off her debut record on Motema Records, which is her fourth recording entitled I Remember When. This album, she's diving into some very contemporary composers as well as the hip-hop genre, ranging reworkings of Eminem as well as Dr. Dre to the great John Legend, great soul R&B Grammy Award-winning artist. As you might know, back in 2002, she participated and was one of the finalists in the Thelonious Monk music competition, which she lost to second place to Gretchen Parlato. Over the last decade, she's paid her dues as well as won the Juno for Best Jazz Recording back in 2012 for her tribute to Nina Simone. We sat down earlier and we talked about this brand new CD. We talked about her origins growing up in Canada. And we also talked about the importance and the legacy of Nina Simone as well as the great Abbey Lincoln. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the sounds of the talented Kellylee Evans, live here at the Jazz Standard, part of the Pace Report here in New York City.
No more games, I'ma change what you call rage. Tear this motherfucking roof off like two dope. I was playing in the beginning, the mood don't change. I've been to the slipped out and moved off stage, but I kept rhyming, writing the next cycle. Let's believe somebody's paying the Pied Piper. All the pain inside amplified by the fact I can't provide for my 9 to 5. I can't provide the right type of life for my family, cause man, these goddamn boot stamps don't buy diapers. And there's no movie, there's no mechanic rifle. This is my life that is down so on. It's in even more than trying to beat them all on the secrets. She's quarter between beating the moment and the prima down the baby for the drama screaming on the people. We don't wanna say what's up, another day, but now he's got me. The phone, I'm like a snake, like that, but don't you need a box, looking up in jail and shut. Success is my only option, baby. Mama love me, but the trailer's got to go. I cannot go on this Salem's Eye. Here I go, it's my shut, deep down in the this may be the only opportunity I need to tell me.
Kellylee Evans, welcome back to New York City. Congratulations on your Motema debut. I remember when. Now, before we go into this interview, I set the piece up. I told viewers that this is really a contemporary version of music that we listen to, hip hop and R&B, and you kind of funked it out a little bit.
A little bit, and not just me, but the co-producers as well. So it was kind of like a labor of love. Not kind of, it was definitely a labor of love between Eric Lenini and Sebastien Vidal and myself. And it's just the music that we grew up loving. Not all of it, obviously, but just as much as we could fit into the album. So everywhere you look or everywhere you listen, there's like a reference to something that that we loved.
Eminem. I mean, the song that you do, Lose Yourself, is the song that kind of catapulted him into like an icon from the movie 8 Mile. Why did you decide to do that song? Because, you know, that song really is kind of very, like I said, it's an autobiography of how he grew up.
Mm-hmm. It's an autobiography of how he grew up, and it doesn't speak to the story of how I grew up, but it speaks to the struggle that I'm going through right now, and not even so much a struggle, but the experience that I'm having right now to make it. And I felt like it was a universal story. I wanted to find something that could speak to everyone, and I think just the idea, because there's so many different levels that you could take that song on, and just the idea of losing yourself to the music, that could mean anything, and losing yourself to your passion, losing yourself to the love, but also even in concert, when we are on stage, when we're performing, there's really that need to, as musicians, to like lose yourself to the music and get out of your head. Also for the listeners to escape from the day and to just lose themselves. So there's so many levels on which I think the song can transcend, can be a transcendent experience for the listener. And I think that's really what I got out of many of the covers that I ended up doing. A lot of people said, oh, you know, like, I've never really listened to the lyrics that way, but now that you've done them, I can hear them. We did Kanye's Amazing. And I just wanted people to hear it in a different context, and the music becomes something different right away, you know? And I think a lot of people can identify with the great songwriter that these artists are, that maybe they couldn't hear because the beat was driving it, you know what I mean? Or their story. But I don't have like an image. I'm so like new to all this that I don't have an image that's gonna go before the music, you know what I mean? So the music comes and you can listen to the music. It's kind of, I don't know if that makes sense, but yeah. Like maybe I'll have like an image that's like, that's Kellylee later, but right now it's the music that's going first, and people are hearing it, and I feel that they're finding themselves in the music just as I found myself in the music.
You know, this is a departure from your last recording, which was the tribute to Nina Simone, and we'll go into that in a minute. This record, it sounds like you just were having a whole lot of fun.
I was having a whole lot of fun. You know what's funny though, when I think about a departure, I guess it all depends. Like, you know, definitely it's a departure in sound. It's a departure to some aspect in content, but not really, because it seems like every single album that I do has something autobiographical to it. And again, this album, like Nina was like a snapshot of my life when I was growing up, listening to jazz. Not even growing up, because I started listening to jazz in my 20s. So it wasn't like part of my life experience, but listening to Nina was. But before I even knew what jazz was, my mom would put Nina on, and she made me like listen to all her CDs and put them on cassette tape. Do you remember what cassette tape is?
The Walkman, yes.
Yes, you do.
Unfortunately.
So we got a car with a cassette player, and she wanted to be able to listen to Nina in the car. And I had to sit and try to line it up, you know, and make sure that I had everything done. And so that process of doing that made me listen to her more. And then later on, I listened to her myself and fell in love with her and her voice and her experience. And so I guess like for every single album that I've done, there's a common thread of just it being a snapshot of some part of my life, of something autobiographical.
I want to talk about a lot of things with you. I didn't realize this. You were a 2004. You participated in the Thelonious Monk competition, and you came in second place to a singer who I profiled on here, Gretchen Pilato.
Yeah.
I understand that you got into jazz almost by a life and death situation.
Yeah, and it's funny because I stay in jazz. I think almost from like life and death situations as well. I keep getting like tested. You know what I mean? Like I keep getting. Well, I think the first one was an allergic reaction. Most recently, I got hit by lightning, and every single time, it's kind of like how much do you want this? How much is this a part of your life? And I have to make this choice, and each time I keep choosing music. Just keep choosing this path. Even though like it's people might think like it's really shiny and everything, and there's wonderful aspects of it, and then there's other aspects of it as well, but I just keep seeing the shiny bits, and I'm like a bird, just running to the shiny bits, because there's just so much. Music keeps saving my life. It's crazy. It just keeps making me so happy, and it doesn't even make sense like to say this, but it's got me standing, it's got me running, it's got me walking, it's got me moving. Like I wasn't able to do all this last year, and this need, this like hunger to be on stage performing and doing what I love keeps me like here and alive. So
You jumped ship too. You were in the middle of trying to earn your master's degree, and you were like, "No, I'm gonna go ahead and sing."
yeah, jump ship is the perfect way to describe it, because it was one of those things where people are like, "Are you crazy? Are you crazy? Just finish." I dropped out. I had a chapter left to write, but the thing is, that chapter took me like a year or 2 years, 3. You know what I mean? Like I just could not wrap my head around. I could never finish it. I kept working on it, could never finish it. And all I really wanted to do was what I'm doing right now. And the moment that I dropped out, I have to say it was just one of the most liberating moments of my life. I had an ulcer at the time, and I haven't had it since. Like it went away, no medication, nothing. What is that? What is that?
Music is
Saving
the
my
healer.
life. It's saving my life. Yeah.
Now you grew up in Toronto, and you now live in Ottawa.
How
Tell
do you
me,
know all this about me?
I research.
Google.
No, research. Tell me about the music scene in Canada, because it's a little different. They have different music laws about playing Canadian artists.
I know that.
Well, again, Detroit had CKLW, and once I think when they sold the station, and I think Canada made it where they have to play, was it 60% of their artists?
I don't know their number, but it's pretty
It
high.
changed. It
Yeah.
changed the whole dynamic of that station, because it was a powerhouse back in the day.
Wow. Yeah, it's funny, like when I think about what Canada's done for me from like a musical standpoint, I think of just like where I'm from in Toronto, it's just the most multicultural of cities. So for me, it was just like this beautiful onslaught of music and culture from everybody. Like you'd be walking by, and like the Greek family is like, is playing their music. The Italian family's out like barbecuing peppers and like having a blast and playing their music, and like there's the West Indian families doing their thing. You know what I mean? And so like everywhere, like turn on the television early morning, or if you're up late night, you're listening to Bollywood films and like Polish music, and just like everything, just this beautiful melange of sounds. So for me, I just feel like it opened my ears up, and it opened my heart up to music, so that when we make music, I don't feel like I can't do anything. I don't feel like, oh, I can't have that instrument, or I can't have that sound in something. For me, it's just like, bring it all in, because it's exciting to me to see that, and it's kind of like when we used to be at school. Every year we'd have like this day where everybody had to bring a food from their own culture, you know. And that was my favorite day at school because like I knew one of my best friends, like she was Korean and she'd be bringing bulgogi, and then like you know the Indian families. My other best friend was Indian and like from Pakistan, and like they would be bringing like food as well, and just like to know that all that culture was out there and that we could partake in it and that it was like just everything was for us. I kind of bring that to the music as well. Like I feel like it's all for us, you know, and we should be able to do that and to listen and to incorporate it in our music.
Yeah, I mean, there's more to Canada than just Bryan Adams and Joni Mitchell.
There's a few other people.
Oh yeah, quite a few.
Although they're awesome. Yeah.
If I were your woman and you were my man, you'd have no other woman. You'd be weak as a lamb. If you had the strength to walk out that door, my love would overrule my sense, and I'd call you back for more. If I were your woman, if I were your woman, and you were my man. She tears you down, darling, says you're nothing at all, but I pick you up, darling, when she lets you fall. You're like a diamond, but she treats you like a lace. Yet you beg her to love you, but me you won't ask. If I were your woman, if I were your woman, if I were your woman, here's what I'd do. I'd never stop loving Life is so crazy, and love is unkind. Because she came first, darling, will she hang on your mind? You're a part of me, and you don't even know it. I'm what you need, but I'm too afraid to show it. If I were your woman, if I were your woman, if I were your woman, here's what I do. I never stop loving you. Yeah, if I were your woman, here's what I do. I never stop loving you.
Been interviewing a lot of female vocalists as of recently, and one of the things that I've been saying for a very long time, and I told you earlier, I think I respect a lot, is the fact that it's okay to sing songs of our generation. I think the American, the American Standard Songbook is old and dated. It's time to start singing some Michael Jackson,
Yeah.
some Erykah Badu.
Yeah.
And I think what you're doing, you're kind of setting the tone for how people are perceiving our music in a very different style and format.
Because it's beautiful. You know, there's nothing wrong with our music today. It's beautiful. And I feel like we need to showcase people like are making music right this minute, you know? It's great to pay tribute as well to, the people that have passed, the people that have helped to build like the musical culture that we are living and appreciating. But there's also like such beauty in what's happening right this minute, and I want to be part of that.
Like I could hear you doing Gnarls Barkley's "Crazy."
Well, why not?
I can see you.
Why not? You know what's funny? It's kind of like, I think you got to find the line between being a cover band and covering songs. You know what I mean? It's different. Like there's a way to pay tribute, and there's a way to pay tribute. Like there's a different way to do it, and so we don't have to do it exactly the same way. And that's when I've heard some of the most exciting things, you know, like when I hear somebody's version of something that I loved, but it's totally different. You know, I get excited.
Luther Vandross, God rest his soul, his whole career was he remade those songs and made them his. And that's very hard to do.
It's very hard to do, but he was the perfect person to do it. You know, it's like a no-brainer for him.
Right.
That voice.
One of your favorite influences, important influences, happened to be one of my favorite jazz vocalists. And I saw her.
What are you gonna say?
I saw her when she played the Detroit Jazz Festival back in 2001. Abby Lincoln.
Oh, she's awesome. She's awesome. She's the reason why I write, like, my own music.
And I wanted to ask you, what was it that Abby brought to your writing and just the whole consciousness thing? Because she and Max Roach, they wrote some stuff that made sure that people of color understood who they were and why they are.
You know what? I think for me, she gave me freedom. She set me free. She set me free from being a cover singer. Like, it's really amazing. Because up to that point, I only wanted to hear covers. I only wanted to hear standards. I only wanted to do standards. I was so scared to write, so scared to speak my own story. And just I assumed that I wasn't capable. And kind of like watching her, I had heard that she had like started off doing standards and then adding one of her own original songs, like one more, until finally the last albums of hers that I bought, like Holy Earth, are like, you know, pretty much all her own music. And just the way she played, I loved Mark Carey's playing, you know, and I went to see her play at Lincoln Center at Avery Fisher. It was just a little bit before she died, and got to stand in the same room as her. You know, it was just, it was amazing. All I know is that she just freed me in a way that I thought wasn't even possible to speak, you know, and that's consciousness. I mean, like, just knowing that you can speak and having that freedom. And it's the same thing from Nina Simone, you know, like, she scared the shit out of me. You know, people ask me, like, would you want to, like, have met her? I'm like, no. You know, like, I'm totally cool with what I have on CD and stuff, because she scared me. But I think what scared me was just how free she was, for whatever reason, to speak her mind and to speak and to not be liked. You know what I mean? Like, to maybe not be liked, because that's something different. Like, we work really hard to be liked, and there was somebody who didn't really work hard to be liked. You know, she gave you what she was willing to give you, take it or leave it. And that's not me. I really do want to have, like, I want people to have fun. I want people to enjoy this show. I want them to just, like, to free themselves as well. So I think if anything, I'm taking from those two icons, you know, it's like, just, they worked so hard doing what they did, so that I could be free to do the kind of music that I do with the kind of messages that I'm putting out, which is my own kind of consciousness, you know? And so they did all that work and they went through all that stuff, and I'm getting to reap the benefits of it. So if I owe them anything and if I want to pay tribute, it's to that. It's to that freedom that they gave me. Yeah.
That'll do it again for another edition of the Pace Report. I'm Brian Pace, reporting live here at the Jazz Standard. I'd like to personally thank the talented Miss Kellylee Evans for her time, the staff and management at Motema Records, as well as the staff and management here at the Jazz Standard for their warm hospitality. And please make sure you go pick up Kellylee Evans' brand new CD, I Remember When, on the Motema Records imprint. As always, please visit my website, www.thepacereport.com, for my weekly column as well as my past segments. Till next time, remember if it's in the groove, it'll make you move. Till next time, peace.
No more games, I'ma change what you call rage. Tear this motherfucking roof off like two dope. I was playing in the beginning, the mood don't change. I've been to the slipped out and moved off stage, but I kept rhyming, writing the next cycle. Best believe somebody's paying the Pied Piper. Hold the pain inside, amplified by